get your own mic. So as you can see, I have quite a few rounds that I need to get through this morning. I got the Eastonmade set up over here next to all these rounds that have been bucked up and stacked up for a while. This is first priority as far as any more splitting that needs to get done. This is probably the driest rounds that I have. This was cut up around January, February, and this stack is from the free load that we got a while ago, like back in December or so. And so we've just had it stacked up and just cutting up some other stuff. And so I told Chase that we needed to get through this stuff first. I'm completely out of totes as for right now until we can get a hold of some more, but I went ahead and set up these leftover pallets that I had, and we are just going to, actually, I have one more tote left, so I need to pull all this off and make a little wall, basically. I started splitting this, these rounds that I had over by the barn up there. It was like somewhere sitting in front of those gates, and I needed to get them out of the way. And come to find out, I'm still not great with identifying my trees. So when I started splitting it, I realized it was sweet gum. Yeah, not the most desirable hardwood as far as like burn wise, but I mean, I guess it'll burn. It'll most likely be like a personal stack to burn here in the solo stove or whatever. But anyways, most of this is pin oak, white oak. And so we'll split that, and I have it to where we can split it. One of us will split and toss it over here, and I'll just start stacking it onto these pallets and just get it as high as possible and let it start seasoning out for a little bit. So after we get through all that, I have a pile of white oak that I cut from a tree down the road. A guy gave that. Next to that is pecan, and then we have a ton of logs over there that we will move on to once we get through all that. But yeah, so I need to get these tote covers moved around. I tried cleaning up the barn a little bit, and so I got to find a spot to move all of this and get that put up somewhere. So I'll get started as much as I can, and then Chase should be here in a little bit. Joanna. Right here. Yes. Yeah. No. I can stay here. If you want to. Do these stay sideways like this? Yeah, they go behind your head. Which ones do you like? Don't matter. Excuse me. Do we want to lay like maybe that plastic tarp down up under this and to keep the trash from getting all in having? No, I'll put a one of those tote lids in one of each of them. All right.
The light is fading fast. From this old town we gotta go. Our bags are packed, so what we waiting for? There's no point in delaying what we both already know. Escape this time with me. Escape this time with me. We could rent a room and watch the stars dance round the moon. Fall asleep to the sounds of the sea. With you right by my side, it's such a sweet life. Escape this time with me. Escape this time with me.
Well, there we have it. Just sifting through these last little bit. Might be some more underneath all that scrap, but I don't know how long this row is. 6, 12, maybe 18 feet. 4 feet high over that. I'm working on the second row. Got one row back here, row and a half full from all the rounds that we did over there. Didn't finish them. Still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 big rounds left. And I need to eat. Chase looking a little white. A little whiter than usual. So he needed to go get some to eat. And I think we're done for the day. I mean, say 3 hours worth of work between the two of us. Well, 3 of us. I had a little help from JT as well. He did great. Just keeping him exposed to doing all this. Not making him do it. Just makes him want to do it more. Pretty much. So I was hoping to get done with all of that, but I mean, I would say this is pretty good. So I'm gonna sift through a little more of the stuff. There's really not much left. Most of it will be for the burn barrel. So really you can see the downside of having a box blade. We will churn out really pretty wood, but we will make a ton of scrap in the process. And that's just the nature of it. Can't really help it. For what we're trying to sell, what we're creating. I mean, this is going to be campfire wood, fireplace wood, cooking. Like, it can't be with a 4-way or 6-way wedge or whatever to make like bulk wood, because no one really burns wood for heat down here. So what the size of boiler wood, I mean, you could split those rounds into 6 pieces and stack them, and they'd be like huge chunks. But again, that's not what we're going for here. So this is what we get. So 2.5 people working. Still can't keep up. Thankfully, it's been a cooler day out here. I need to get a fan going next time. I'm glad I had this tent up, because if the sun was beating down on us, I think it wouldn't have lasted as long. So the Eastonmade 1222, putting in work. Really happy still with what this thing does, what it's capable of. Haven't had any issues. There is one thing though, Chase has gotten used to figuring out what to do with this machine, and so he figured out a little trick. I'm sure someone else has, but for the rounds that are about 8 inches or so, we've basically had this thing set how we wanted, and anything that was like super long, well, first of all, 8-inch rounds, instead of having it seated in here, we kind of lifted it up to about here, let it run into really this blade or both of them, and it kind of turned it into like a 3-way, 4-way, and so it was cutting really good sizes out of these. And then the chunk that would come off of this blade here, we could pull it off and then run it through the center, and then the top would be like a half of a piece, and then we can set it in the cradle and it run through. So it was nice. It actually cut down some of the scrap, because whatever we had it set at, you could have like this little sliver right here that was on top, and that's a waste. So we figured, or Chase figured out, that if you can put it off on the side and run it through, it worked out a lot better. And so having 2 people run this efficiently helped out a lot, because whatever needed to be resplit could be handed off and the other person could split it, and then once the right size was coming through, we just moved it over, started stacking it. Anyways, so that's it for the day. I appreciate you guys watching as always. Thanks for taking the time to do so. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I need Chase to get on here and talk a little more sometimes, but I'm out of here. As always, like I said, thanks for tuning in. This is Full Belly Farmhouse. I'm gonna get some lunch.